why don't we create something where we can ask them, where would you invest in real estate? Where would you buy? What would you do? So it wasn't all about me.
Yeah.
It was about who we knew.
Well, welcome to the show, Andy. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Tony.
I'm glad our mutual friend Ben introduced us.
I know.
So
Absolutely.
it's been good knowing you.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, tell us a little about your story. I know you came from South Africa and, moved to Squim, right? So
I did.
What was that transition like, and what brought your family to Squim of all places?
Yeah, it was a very interesting and wild move, but I was super excited to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I was 10 and from South Africa, obviously born in a place called Middelburg, which is kind of in the middle of nowhere in South Africa.
So you went from middle of nowhere to
Squim.
Yeah.
But my mom was divorced at the time. My brother and I actually lived with my uncle. Like my family, we're like the poor family out of my family. But then I ended up, my mom really couldn't afford my brother and I. So we ended up going and living with my uncle who had 4 girl cousins.
Wow.
And I remember walking into the house, like he was a real estate developer.
Uh-huh.
So walked into the house. I'm like, people live like this, the hot tub was like, could literally swim in the hot tub.
Right.
So I was like, this is wild. And then ended up just having a great relationship with my cousins.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother was like a really great time for us. And then my mom ended up meeting my eventual stepdad, who was from Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, another very small town. And then like I remember him bringing a basketball when I was 10.
Yeah.
And I'm like dribbling it with 2 hands, like, no, you dribble it with 1 hand.
Yeah.
He had a baseball and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I always wanted to go to America. End up moving to Squim. He showed me Squim on the map. Like, Sequim, is that how you
Yeah.
No,
That's
no,
how I would have pronounced it originally.
It's Squim. Yeah. So ended up moving there when I was 10 and we moved into a hotel. So he was building a hotel in Squim. My stepdad, so was also in the real estate business. So ended up moving into the hotel and then started going to school. I remember when the yellow school bus came up and I'm like, man, I remember seeing this yellow school bus in the movies. And now I'm getting on the school bus,
So they didn't have buses in South Africa?
No, not.
Or at least where you were from?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Didn't do it.
So just a bit of a culture shock.
It was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, so it was definitely very different. But for me, I always had a genuine excitement about the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And the move, even though it was a culture shock going to a different country, and like it was obviously my immediate family, but leaving all my extended family, like I had like 25 cousins there, so it was like a big extended family. But was always excited to do it.
Yeah,
and I'd always share with my friends. I wanted to move to the U.S., which is wild. So ended up doing it, and it was. I think just still feel very fortunate to live in the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you find that because you were surrounded, you practically grew up around real estate, right?
I did. Yeah.
And did that have a strong influence of where you wanted to take your career going to school?
Definitely. Like it does go back, talking about my family, my grandmother, who unfortunately recently passed at, I think, 94. She had her own real estate company as well.
This is in South Africa?
This is in South Africa.
Wow.
She had her own real estate company. She was very entrepreneurial. She also was an inventor. So she had like over 20 patents around the world. So which is wild. Yeah. And then she had a real estate company.
She still getting royalties?
Her patents never really did that well.
Okay.
Like her real estate business, I would say, was the most successful business because it was consistent. But her patents, even though she had some really good patents, she never really did that well with her patents. But her real estate business did well. And then my uncle like I said, they worked together, but he ended up being a real estate developer. My aunt had a property management company she owned. Really did have a big influence on me because I just grew up around it. Moved into the hotel in Squim and saw a lot of work being done there. Listened to conversations my dad would have on the phone. Heard a lot of the stories he would share, both good and bad, on what was happening with the deals that he was doing. So definite impact.
So how did you come about building your own company?
I started studying real estate while I was going to school, going to college. So in my late teens, because I thought, okay, I knew the business from just the basics, but I knew I did not want to rent. I wanted to own, because I knew if I owned and I buy something and I pay off the debt, I will get equity. Started studying real estate in my late teens, and then wanted to buy my first house earlier than I did.
Wow.
But I was actually frustrated in my early 20s that I hadn't bought my first house yet.
Wow.
So, that's just how I'm wired,
Yeah. Definitely different set of expectations, right? Because I'm sure some of the kids you went to school with, I mean, they're thinking about spring break.
Definitely. Yeah.
And you're here racking your brain like, oh, I'm such a failure. I'm going to go. I haven't bought a place yet.
Yeah. No, that is very true. That's really true. It was different wavelength, different mindset. Honestly, it was a challenge for me because early on, I think because I had such big expectations, it actually ended up being a challenge for me. So even though, because I didn't really know how to channel even early on, wanting to do so great so early. But
do you think it has something to do with how you came to America with very little resources? And you saw all your other family members with resources. And you're like, I'm tired of being the poor kid.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Because I think I had seen also, like, just my childhood, I had seen the worst to kind of the best. So I already had experienced a lot, just even as a child. Like, my dad was an alcoholic, so my mom left him, and I saw how bad he was, how bad he treated my mom, my brother, then leaving that situation and ending up going and seeing my uncle and how he lived, and the cousins that I lived with and how they had a overall healthy home. So everything, as we moved and moved to the US, for sure, was excited for the move, excited for the opportunity, realized early on what I wanted to do, and went out and did it. Started studying real estate like I said, in my late teens and then early 20s. Then bought my first house when I was 23, because, like I said, I did have that ownership mindset early on and wanted to start investing.
So walk us through your first deal.
So it was a very impactful one as well. Like, even though it was the very first one, I still remember to this day finding the house, which my brother and I I was looking for deals, got in my car, drove around, and ended up at this house. Guy knocks on the door and says, "Hey, come into this open house. Let's go check it out." So I'm like, I'm going to buy this thing. End up, the agent that was representing me, I remember walking through the house and coming to the kitchen where she was standing, taking her keys, kind of twiddling her keys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is this all you're going to do? Are you going to do, like, I'm 23. I found the house. She really didn't give me any guidance or direction, which I realized,
Yeah.
And then I remember reading the settlement statement, and I'm like, okay, you're getting paid how much to sell me this house?
Right.
And I actually, literally at that moment, I said, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my own real estate license and negotiate my own deals, because I can do a heck of a better job negotiating this deal, because she did nothing for me. So I did that, went and got my real estate license, and then the goal was to just represent myself in investments. But then friends and family and said, "Hey, how are you doing this?" Because I was buying properties, The next deal I did, because I'd studied. Even though I was young, I'd studied because I wanted to know the game. I wanted to know how to do it.
So what exactly would you say you studied compared to that person that was supposed to help you in the gaps that you recognized they had that you could take advantage of?
Yeah. First, I was an investor mindset. So I was always looking at numbers. What are the numbers? I would say from a brokerage perspective, a lot of times it's about the sale. It's not about, do the numbers actually make sense? Are you giving advice that is real advice? Do you really know the market? Do you really know the asset? What's it really worth? Should you be buying this? Is it a good asset to even buy? So because it's step one is what you buy, and money is made when you buy. If you buy a good piece of real estate. So what's the location like? What are the terms like? What's the zoning like? All those things.
Do you think mindset's different between investment and helping somebody where this is my forever home?
Definitely. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And there's a difference. If it's a forever home, that's really, I think, still an investment. But if it's a home, then because most of the investments that we do now are larger multifamily deals. Like we have a brokerage division, which I don't do brokerage anymore. We have brokers on staff that are fantastic, the best of the best that we only hired, I think, based on the pain point for me. Right. Really, the representation that I got on my first house
was very impactful.
Very impactful. And it was poor. It was poor representation. And it was all about the sale, not about the process. What are my goals? What are my investment goals? So that's the approach that we take. So it is really different. But, so that was the first deal. Second deal that I did was a house with a lot, and I had an agent in my office knew that I was buying real estate as well. Said, "Hey, I've got a house with a lot next to it, and I think it's a good deal." So I said, "Okay, I'll go look at it." So I walked into the house. Older couple was there. I'm 20. I think I was 24 at the time. And older couple sitting on the couch. He tours me through the house. And I ran the numbers. Lo and behold, it's a free lot that comes with the house.
Free lot.
Pretty much. 100% the case. So I toured the house and I said to all of them, "I'll take it."
Yeah.
And they looked at me, "Is this guy for real, right?" And even the listing agent was like, "Really?"
He wasn't clued in on.
No, I mean, but just the numbers looked at the value of the house, and there was a lot. Even though, it was a deal.
It was a free lot.
I actually literally, because I thought, okay, I have this under contract now. I am driving. I kid you not, Tony, driving, and I see a van that says "I buy houses." So I said, maybe I just call this guy and flip this contract.
Right.
So I call this guy and I'm like, "Hey, I have a house with a lot next door. You want to buy this?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll come look at it." Lo and behold, he's like, "Okay, I'm in." So I signed the contract for $25,000
to your pocket.
Yeah. And didn't close on the deal and basically wholesale.
Now, did you know about wholesaling when you did
that?
Not
really, no.
Or just the idea just came to you?
Well, I would say I did, but I think this was before it was really called wholesaling, right? Or maybe just kind of beginning. But then our deals kept on going. But just friends and family asked, "Hey, how are you doing this?" So the brokerage side of our business organically grew from it, giving clients and investors good representation. But then I've always been passionate about owning real estate. So I've grown the investment and development arm. Yeah. And then the brokerage division is also grown.
So tell us about how you went from residential to saying, "You know what, I want to do bigger deals."
Started with residential and then bought my first fourplex.
Yeah.
And I think just realizing again, studying real estate and cash flow appreciation, paying down your debt, and where do you get the most appreciation? How do you get the most value? How do you get the most rent? You get more rent if you have more renters paying your mortgage. So if you have one renter paying your mortgage on a single family house, you only have so much leverage.
Right.
If you have 100 renters paying your mortgage, if you say 150, depending on the unit mix, but if it's a 100-unit building, you have more tenants. There's less that can go wrong when you have 100 tenants paying your rent. If 5 move out, it's different than, say, single family or even a retail building where you have one tenant. Riskier, because if your one tenant moves out of a single tenant building, there goes your mortgage.
Yeah.
So from a risk profile and risk perspective, upside perspective, what made the most sense to me was multifamily. That was the goal early on, was to continue to grow the company.
Right.
So early on, had that realization. That's what I wanted to do. So ended up bought a fourplex, which was my first fourplex was a seller finance deal.
Yeah.
Where it was off market. Contacted the owner. It was in Leshai in Seattle, right on 30th, like beautiful street. Contacted the owner and said, "Hey, I'd like to potentially buy your fourplex." I said, "Okay," but I wanted to do seller financing. I said, "Okay." He lived on Vashon, so I took a ferry over.
Yeah.
I think I was 25, 26. Took a ferry over to meet him with an offer, and we did 10% down, 90% seller financing. He also had a mortgage on it, so we wrapped his mortgage with the seller financing. And he was a really sophisticated guy.
Yeah.
I still stay in contact with him, but he was an old-time developer who knew the game, and he knew I was a young guy coming in, but he also wanted to sell his fourplex.
So he just didn't want to deal with it anymore.
No, too small for him. He wanted to just get the deal done. So wrapped his mortgage, 90% seller financing, 10% down. I pulled money out of my first house. Yeah. Refinanced, pulled money out to buy the fourplex.
Wow.
So that was my first time.
Leveraging assets.
Leveraging. Yeah. So leveraged, bought the fourplex, and then started remodeling it, and then just kept going. As you own real estate, you pay down the mortgage. You get more equity. It's really called the BRRRR method now. Where that's you buy and renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. That's what they call it now. But
it's pretty exciting. Now, so, were you building a family during the bigger deals? Or?
No, actually, I worked too much, honestly. Like worked too much, too hard. My better half, so I got married in my early 30s. Okay. So I started. So
you've already established your career.
Yeah. It was still in my mind, still just getting going. But it started the company. I was in my mid-20s. Was actually asked to run the office that I was at. So I would have been in charge of over 100 agents because the brokerage was doing well, even though I was investing. And I thought about it.
Oh, so you were hanging your license at another firm before you started?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So actually, I hung my license at a company called Keller Williams.
Okay.
Which
they're a big company.
Yeah, and I still think very highly of Keller Williams. I do.
Yeah.
And the owner of the Keller Williams that I was at said, "Hey, would you run my office?" And I thought and prayed. I'm like, nah. I said, "Thank you for the opportunity, but I'm going to start my own company." And I was 25 and said, "Thank you, but no thank you."
Yeah.
And then started a venture. So then started the company and then started growing it and was excited to do it.
Was that scary? Or you had a lot of confidence? Sounds like.
Probably overly confident, to be honest. Now, if I look back, because I think now I realize confidence is good if it's based on real data and really understanding the markets and understanding what you're doing. So I do think confidence is good, but then now I more so understand the risks involved in the decisions that I make, and not that I didn't, but definitely more like I have a sign in my office that says "sharpen the axe," which was given to me by one of our long-term investors and great partner who we built the Adriana together. He played for the Celtics.
Oh, wow.
And he's a. Can
we get a picture of the Adriana up there?
Yeah, and great, good man, and sent me the sign out of the blue in Celtic colors.
Oh yeah,
it says "sharpen the axe." Sharpen the axe.
How did you meet the player?
Scalabrini.
No, Brian Scalabrini.
Brian Scalabrini. Yeah.
How long did he play?
12 years.
Okay.
Probably had a long NBA career.
Nice. So you guys got together.
Yeah. So ended up meeting Brian through an agent who introduced us, and we got on the phone. Brian was playing in the NBA, and we hit it off.
Yeah.
Shared my vision. He said, "Let's do this. You fund the deals, and I'll fund it." So we started. He was really my first bigger partner and an investor. So just super solid, great guys. Been a great friend over the years.
And does that picture have an actual axe on it?
It does.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it does. There's 2 axes like this. So, but that just was, I think, a lesson for me early on making sure you take time with the decisions, and not that we didn't, but we do so now.
Yeah,
more time.
Definitely more seasoned.
Exactly.
But you also think that maybe not knowing everything, but also having the drive, gave you that lack of fear, so that you're able to just go and trust that things are going to go the right way.
Yeah. I think yes, and I think maybe not the absence of fear, but it's not the letting that fear control you.
Yeah.
So I think I learned to overcome, even to be fully transparent, even early on in my career and even life, dealt with anxiety. But I'm like, overcome. How do I overcome? So I never typically let things get in the way. Right. So I think knowing your North Star, knowing where you're going, and having it be crystal clear, I think showed me what can be done as long as you stay focused on that and don't let the things and the rocks and the issues and the failures get in the way.
Yeah.
So I've experienced a tremendous amount of failure, but I think it's learning from that and overcoming, like even the fourplex I told you about, that was right before the downturn.
Really?
That we closed on our first I would say a few years before the downturn.
So you're already paying a premium for that.
Exactly. So even seller financing, our payment all of a sudden is a lot of money. Our property is all of a sudden underwater. Brian and I bought a lot of real estate before the downturn in 08, 09. So there was a lot of anxiety and challenge that going through that.
How did you survive that?
It was a lot.
Yeah.
I learned a ton. I would say, number one, like I said, making sure you know what's important. So I knew what was important. That really helped to stay focused, because a lot of people do lose the right mindset when there are challenges. Even like the last few years, interest rates have gone up at unprecedented levels so quickly.
Yeah, that wiped out a lot of people.
We own a lot of real estate. But we're never, I would say we were more leveraged in 07 than now. Even in 07, based on my work that I did in my late teens and early 20s, I knew not to over leverage yourself, right? And there's a lot of companies and guys who over leverage. And if you over leverage, your payment, your debt covered, everything gets out of line. So we even though it was early on in my career and things were on fire, we never lost any properties. We were never late on any payments. Our credit was phenomenal. We also pivoted a lot with our business on our focus.
So you found other ways to ride that wave.
Yeah. And also, like, I met funny enough, just had a conversation yesterday with, he was an early mentor of mine. I surrounded myself with early on in my career as well, really smart guys that were mentors and friends that I could ask questions. And actually just realized I spoke with one of the guys who I met with, who they build high rises and one of the biggest builders in the state.
Yeah.
He's a friend now, but early on met with him in the downturn, the Great Recession, and asked him, what do I do in this situation? What do you do in a situation like this? And I remember him saying to me, Andy, I know my cell phone bills for my employees. This is a guy now who has probably 200 or more employees at the time. Right? He knew his numbers. He knew his expenses at a level that was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're high up there, you're looking at the bigger stuff, not down to.
Yeah, and I think depending on the person how they're wired, but I just learned from that conversation in the Great Recession, you need to know your numbers. So you need to know your income, your expenses.
Yep.
So that's what I learned. So, but like I said, surround myself with a lot of really smart guys, and that made a difference surviving that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And staying focused and disciplined.
Big shout out and a huge thank you to Zekin for making this happen. They have an amazing platform. Check out their website, zeacon.com, zeacon.com.
How much did faith play into that?
Tremendous.
You're a man of faith.
Yeah, tremendous.
Yeah.
I think foundational for me, faith, my belief in God, my belief in Jesus. I mean, I think it was huge, just being able to pray and trust God to lead and guide and direct my steps, which fully a lot of confidence in that, in God, and that for sure. Huge. Yeah.
Now, is that kind of a philosophy instilled in your company? Maybe not God for those that don't believe, but perhaps some sort of faith.
No, yes, I think for sure. For me, I 100% live by my faith. And then I also, like, if folks in my company would ask, I would probably even pray more back in the day. Yeah. Now I try walk the line of not pushing my faith on employees, like doing that balance of, I want to be accepting and not be religious. Right. But then also live by, hey, I have your back.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking about an employee or someone who's on the team, 100%, I have your back. And you're on the team, I'm going to be behind you 100%, no matter no matter kind of your belief system. So it's like they see me for how I live and the decisions that I make. And if they want to have a conversation, 100% will do it.
Yeah.
And I'm an open book on being transparent with pretty much anything, like we do. And our team and our company and our philosophy and our culture is so different than it was even a decade ago. It's way more transparent. And also, like, I do one-on-ones with my team. We try to do them bi-weekly. We do a lot of one-on-ones where we have an agenda on how are you doing? What are you working on? What do we as a company, what can we work on to improve? So it's like we've worked really hard on our culture and our team to really, I think, great relationships.
Yeah.
Great relationships, which I think faith plays into who I am. But then like I said, I think that if you have a great relationship, you can talk about anything, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Right. Including faith. And if you have a great relationship and you say something that the other person might not agree with, they're not going to be offended because they know my heart, or they know me, they know where I'm coming from.
And they know that everybody's opinion is respected.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they feel heard.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's next for you?
Oh, man. It's a great question. we just had baby number 3 on the family side. So super excited about that. Baby girl to join our twin boys. We were 3. We have a packed home. Yeah. That's for sure. Which I wouldn't have it any other way. I married up. My wife is absolutely phenomenal, Jamie. So she does a stellar job.
And she's still working in the company?
She is. Her role is definitely less right now. She's brilliant. When we first got married 13 years ago, she was did government real estate, and she was interviewing with the president of Vulcan. Okay. Because she worked for the Corps and wanted to go in the private sector. And I thought, man, I need to hire my wife, you know. So
before Vulcan,
exactly before Vulcan does. So she did. She came on board, and she's just tremendous. She ended up getting her license and working on the brokerage side, and just absolutely has crushed it over the years. Yeah. And I mean, is the best of the best. But for us, what's next? We're launched. So baby number 3, family side. We're launching. We're, as you know, our fund. Yeah. Which very excited about the launch of our fund, because we've attracted serious capital now based on a track record of success. Yeah. As well as a track record of success, but then also with our investors is we're transparent about what is going well, or if there's a problem, and how we're gonna solve it. So it's been a 2-decade process of our deals continuing to grow, getting a track record, and now launching our fund, which super excited about that. So that, and then we're working on some fantastic deals right now. Yeah. So some really great deals.
Now, does that tie into your overall goals as when you first started this company? And what made you want to go higher? Because I imagine you own your own brokerage, you're already doing well. What is it within you that's saying, I want to go higher, I want to go here? And then when you get there, is it, I want to go here now? Where does it end?
It's such a great question, and I'll share a conversation that I had with Brian. I'll share because Brian, we had a conversation on when is enough enough. Yeah. When is enough enough, and that's challenging for me because we have set such big goals where I still do not have the answer to that, to be honest with you, because I do wrestle. I've actually had that conversation with a few guys, including another athlete. Yeah. And that because you do have that question with guys that are successful. Right. Because if you're successful, you've reached a time in your life where you can keep going, but then also you realize time is very limited. Yeah. So
time, health.
Exactly. Yeah. And time goes very quickly. For me, I have realized we have the ability to do big deals. We're really good at it. Yeah. I have decided to stick with our goals based on, as long as I'm not overworking to do it, and I'm doing it by hiring the right people who have the capacity to do it and building the right team with the right people. So I think it's really becoming less about me and more about the team.
So basically, if I had to recap it for you, it's you're trying to help people reach their goals.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. And say, this is the overarching team goal, and these are going to fulfill your dreams. I'm going to help you do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And then it does come down to your team and who you're hiring. Yeah. So for sure, for me, being a strong leader and having the goal and the crystal clear vision, but then the idea or doing it is only a very small part of it. The execution is typically where most people fail. Yeah. It's the execution side. That's hard.
Yeah, because I remember an old boss of mine, He goes, "There's no new ideas in this world. It's about people that can actually do the idea, which is the execution."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
100%. We've executed well. Typically, when we do something like our first ground up was 119 units.
Yeah,
where I had people say there's no way, and so watch me, we're gonna do it.
Why would they say it's no way? There's no way.
There's a lot of naysayers,
because you didn't have the experience or
whatnot. It was our biggest deal, but then, like I said, you need to figure out how to do it and make sure you do the work to do it. Figure it out. We had said we put together the right team to do it, but then we've executed well, and we've learned how to execute well. So I think once you can execute, then you rinse and repeat and do it again. But also, I've learned there's areas that we can grow in, right? So to never think we've arrived, to always have the student mindset, student mentality. Like, reminds me of Bruce Lee. My father-in-law's a big Bruce Lee fan.
Was he?
He is a big Bruce Lee fan. Yeah. Clyde, shout out to you. It'd be funny if he'll love that. But that student mindset to truly make sure that, okay, we are doing well, but there are 100% areas that we can grow in and improve. So, and to make sure that we tell the truth about as a team, to have the culture of what do we do well and what do we not do well, and where can we grow in? Yeah. We really do that. So, and have grown in that area. So we actually have an error log.
An error log?
Yeah. Error log. If someone on the team makes an error, I don't want them to hide. I made an error. I want them to say, I screwed up. Let's learn from this. How can we do it? How can we fix it? How can we learn from it as a company? So that's, I think, where I learned that from. Actually, I think it came from one of our team members. It was their idea. And
so
I said, let's do it.
That's good because it goes back to the transparency that you want in your organization. And then, I don't know, maybe another idea is have an axe there where people walk in the office, get a sharpener and, sharpening stone, and just sharpen it before they start work.
It, Tony. Right? That's a good idea. We might have to do that. Yeah. We actually have a little gong in our office. Like, we do a deal. We had a guy on our team who unfortunately passed. His name was Brian Sweet. Captain of the Utah State football team, was one of the last cuts for the Detroit Lions, came in, and it was his idea to get the gong. We still have it. Fantastic guy who passed way too early in his late 20s. But so gong, we have a gong.
What's the gong for?
We do deals a hit and everyone claps. Okay. We got a deal done.
Oh, that's cool.
But I like that. I like the axe idea.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Figure a way where nobody gets hurt, but have it hanging on the wall, come in, and it's all right, time to sharpen the axe.
Yeah. No, it's a good one.
Yeah. And I think rituals are important, right? Everybody has their rituals, especially if you're working with a lot of athletes. They know all about it. They understand it.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I think even like just business in general, I think most athletes who have reached a level, not all, maybe not most, but there's probably most who have been an athlete, understand the work that it takes and the rituals that it takes, especially those that have been professional athletes, another level. So it does transcend well into business. Yeah. But business, for sure, I've learned to be very ritual based, or time block, that's how I live now.
Yeah. That's what you got to figure. If you're rinsing and repeating, you need systems. And I feel like maybe that's what's helped you succeed more than others, is because you've studied, but you also have a system.
Yeah. Yeah. I fully agree with that. I think we have been very, very systematized and process driven. It also, when you have systems in place that are easily replicatable, then it's easier to train, and it's easier for everyone to know what to do, and then it's the how to do it. it's something we're working on now, actually,
Yeah.
is taking our systems to another level. We have been systems based for sure, but for sure we're 100% taking that to the next level right now.
Yeah.
So, but our team members now have a different understanding of our systems and how to go to the next level.
Yeah, it goes back to sharpening the axe.
It does.
Right.
I would say that, as well as I would say the why, is I think the big vision for where we're going, but also understanding. So because everyone on the team knows where we're going and knows why we're doing it. So that I think is a big difference maker as well.
Yeah. Now, since you have kids, is this a business that you eventually want to pass on to them? Or is this a business where there's an exit in the future potentially?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say with my kids, they have to be tennis players. I'm just kidding.
Are you a big tennis guy?
I am.
Yeah.
No.
I should get in a game with you.
You play tennis?
No, I don't.
Yeah. I used to play a lot more. Very competitive. I was a really competitive tennis player.
You ever play like in a minor league or anything?
No, I mean I considered
works.
it. I played college. I considered it. I used to teach, back for not a lot of money, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I'll trade you boxing for tennis lessons.
Nice. I'm in. Yeah, I'm in. I think I told you I have a good friend, BJ, who I started doing Hapkido with.
Yeah.
So every Saturday morning, because I'm like, safety is such a big deal.
Oh yeah.
It's a huge deal. And I'm like, can I defend myself or defend my kids? I'm like, if necessary.
That's why I think it's important.
Yeah.
Also, you walk the streets differently if you know how to defend yourself. There's a little more confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I having kids was a game changer for sure for me on that front. But on just to answer your question, I think with our kids, I think whatever they're good at, because I think we're even seeing personality differences with even my boys, with Leo, with my boys. Baby girl's still a newborn, so we'll see. But if they did, I think we'll most likely probably keep the company and continue to grow it. Now, if someone said, "Hey, I'll buy your company," and it was an offer that we couldn't refuse, we'd do it again.
Yeah.
So we'll see, because I do think we're building something that we have the unique aspect, and it's really creative because we've tried to be different, but also at the same sense as well is we have a business that is growing based on foundational principles, investment principles. So I think we've done a good job.
I know what I found interesting is you have the magazine as well. What made you build a magazine on top of what you're already doing?
No, that idea, I'll share with you the idea.
Yeah.
I have the best ideas on the plane. One of the best ideas. My wife Jamie and I we were flying down to get some vitamin D in Palm Springs. We go to like Palm Desert area, and Indian Wells. We typically would go down for the tennis tournament down there. Yeah. Flying down there, and this is in 2019, and we're wrapping up the Adriana, but realizing how could we differentiate ourselves in the market. So I thought, okay, I only know so much, but I've realized I only know so much, but I have relationships that I have built with really smart individuals. Why don't we create something where we can ask them, where would you invest in real estate? Where would you buy? What would you do?
That's smart.
So it wasn't all about me.
Yeah.
It was about who we knew.
And gathering the best ideas.
Exactly.
And
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and no one had done this before. We have never seen anyone in the market that has done this, is compiling unique opinions and articles from the best in the business on the real estate side. So, and then when we were like, okay, we should make this a magazine. Let's do a magazine. What do we do on the cover? So I thought, I don't want to just brand. I'm not going to put me on the cover. Why don't we put great people that we know on the cover? So I asked Brian, said, hey, Brian, would you go on the cover of our magazine?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, you're creating a magazine. So he said, of course.
Yeah.
Whatever you need. That was his response, which I was blown away by. So Brian agreed to go on the cover. So he was on the cover of our first magazine. And then next magazine, we have an investor who now she's invested in 11 of our projects, and she's done well in every single investment. And she just a phenomenal lady and great family. She went on the cover of our second one, but we ended up just continuing to put great, fantastic people on our cover, and then having really unique real estate content. Like we had a guy named Matthew Friedman from Rockwood, a company called Rockwood Capital. They're I think $39 billion organization.
Wow.
Wrote an article on investing in real estate. It's just super high level. So that's why we did it. And it's also to differentiate ourselves in the market. So if someone looks at our magazine and the quality of it, it's super high quality.
It's high quality. Yeah.
Everything about it. So we really go all out on it to make sure that even on our cover alone, we do 50 plus edits. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds, and even I know over thousands of edits that we do on the magazine alone to make sure it's a big team. Now our main editor is in England. He's a great guy. So we've assembled a team to do this, and it's we've done it now for a while. It really has been a game changer because of the quality of it. When an investor looks at it, they see the content, they see the projects that we're doing, they see the network, the people that we have relationships with. So what was really to honestly raise capital for folks to see, because we need, we're bringing in capital because we're syndicating deals up until this point. So we raise capital. Folks, now we're launching our fund. Folks they can invest in either our fund or in our syndications. And then we're actually splitting, just so you know, into two companies where the investment and development arm will be its own entity, and the brokerage will be its own entity.
Nice. So I guess, to wrap up, what would be 5 tips for the aspiring younger version of you if they were looking in?
Oh man, 5. Yeah. Okay. I could do this.
5.
5 is good.
5's good.
I would say write down your goals, know where you're going. That's a big one. Second, I would also say, actually, it's one thing to know where you're going, but I would say your goals as well as your why. So I think number 1's goals. Actually, I take it back. Number 1 is your why. What's your why? What has you? It's kind of one thing I say. What has you? Your why. So to really know what's your purpose and to write a mission statement. You write down, a lot of people don't write down their goals. Most people take more time to plan a vacation than they do the rest of their lives.
Very true.
It's a fact. Yeah. Write down your mission statement, at least a mission. I would say mission and vision, because we have everyone who's part of the team write down a mission and vision statement to know, as well as obviously goals. So write down your why, write down your goals, would be 2. Number 3, I would say, write down your values to know how are you going to make your decisions in your life. And it's easy to probably write down a bunch of values, but I would say do either 3 or 5 values. Like a company has values, people should have values. So that's 3. Number 4, I would say, is to base all your decisions now based on your values. So now you've laid the foundation. Now you make your decisions based on your values. So that's number 4. And then number 5, I would say, is who you surround yourself with is critical.
Yeah.
So number 5 is you need to surround yourself with great people. And those great people, I would say, it's not just financially, but what are their values? how do they live their life?
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
For sure.
Now, going back to from that list, right? What was your why? And was there a deal out there where it just didn't fit with your value system?
Oh, yes.
Right.
I'll give you a great story.
Yeah.
It's actually not so great, but it is truth. Values for me: God first, family second. I say family and friends second, business third.
Mm-hmm.
Value just from a 30,000 foot level.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you said, so foundationally, faith wise, that God's just huge for me. Then family, like Jamie's number, just God's first, Jamie's second. I will always put my wife before anything and anybody.
Right.
And her and I are gonna be in agreement.
Mm-hmm.
So that second, and then I would say my kids after my wife.
Yeah.
You know, my wife comes before my kids.
Yeah.
You know, but then my kids, and then I would say recently we had an opportunity. Jamie and I and the family flew down to California.
Mm-hmm.
We had an opportunity to invest with a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
He flew in, I won't say what country, he flew in from another country to meet us.
Mm-hmm.
We flew down to California to meet him.
Mm-hmm.
And Jamie and I sat down. Jamie sits down next to me for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
He invites me to sit down next to him to meet him. And we're talking about a joint venture on what would have been, I'll just say, several $100 million of real estate.
Wow.
They wanted us to, we were treated very well to come down well, I'll share what happened. I sit down and there's 3 bottles of alcohol on the table. And he says to me, which one? Now, I'll have a glass of wine, or, maybe whiskey now and again.
Yeah.
Light. My dad was an alcoholic. So I'm like, my biological dad was an alcoholic, very close to my stepdad, who's my dad. But so I'm a light drinker.
Mm-hmm.
I'll like one drink at a night, that's like, I'm good. So, one of them was, well, I won't go into too much detail, but very expensive bottles of alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And, I said, I'm good with the wine. And he just wanted to just go to town on drinking.
Uh-huh.
And, how at the end of the day, as we work through how that situation went and our values of how Jamie and I want to live our lives and who we want to invest with, and would we invest or do business with, how this ended up transpiring, just even way further than that, about the trip and the few days of how different meetings went. We said no. So I was like, no. So we passed. Said, doesn't matter how much money you have at the end of the day. We've had a few big deals that didn't work out that we've gone after. The numbers like, no, I'm good. I'm good to pass if the numbers don't work out, even if we put a lot of time, effort, money into it, or if the people involved aren't the right people. Right. People is everything. So we passed on that.
Was it an easy decision?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah,
it was really at the end of the day. And I think it was, maybe not easy, but it got easier as we got real clarity. And I think I would honestly say easier for Jamie because I was more involved. But as Jamie and I talked about it for us and our family and our business and our careers, and just as we keep going, you're doing a big development. And that one could have been a 5 to 10 year project.
Right. So you'd have to work with that team for a long time.
Yeah, long time. So, yeah.
Well, and that's why it's important to have your value system, right? Because you want to play in your box that you're comfortable with, and you don't have to bend to other ways of doing business if it just doesn't, because it's not going to work out at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we passed. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely,
Appreciate you
Tony.
sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And look forward to where your company goes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, great time.
How do people find you?
Website, real simple, vreg.co, or on social media, typically Andy Langsford.
Mm-hmm.
So just at Andy Langsford, or LinkedIn, same thing. So
all right.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning into the show. If you found value in what our guests shared and what we share on the show, please feel free to share with your friends and family. We'd love to see you back here. Thank you again. And you can find us on pretty much every social media channel, YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify as well. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Step into the unscripted arena.